Look at this now. Theoretically, oh, you can tell I haven't spoken for literally what 10 hours. Uh, oh, need more tea. Evening all. It's Rail Matter. We're here for the last live episode of 2021. Good grief. Oh, let's go big face. Where are we? Hello. Let's go big. Right. In fact, and also since it's a holiday special. Hello, everyone. Looking traditionally bleached out. Since it's a holiday special, I need to get the old Santa hat on. There we are. Lovely, marvelous. Right. Ah, cheers, everyone. Oh, yes. Right. We're here to talk about films. We're here to talk about. Oh, where are we? Let's go back to this. Yeah, we're here to talk about the official Rail Natter Top 10 Classic Railway Films. I don't know if it could be more of an explicit title. That's what we're here to do. And good grief, we are going to try and make it entertaining. Hopefully everyone is drinking something fun. If you're not already, grab yourself something festive. I've eaten all my mince pies, and I've just eaten all the last of my biscuit selection. There's a panettone behind me, which we might well start relying on. Hello to everyone. Good grief, we've got Daniel Cantwell from New York City. Hello, everyone. Hello. Lovely to see everyone in the chat. The chat, lovely. Look at this. Remember to at me if you've got things to say. Can we get an orange Santa hat from the merch store, asks Tom. Quite possibly. Thanks to everyone sending your Rail Natter mask selfies and your Gadget Ban mug pictures. I'm finding those highly entertaining. Do tag me and Rail Natter. Use the hashtag in him, because it's very weird. It's never not going to be weird. Simon's not allowed to drink. Oh, you can drink tea. That's allowed. So... yeah, indeed. Karun Kumar. Now, that's what I call railway Christmas films. That's what we're doing. But before we do that, I'm going to bump back to No Face. We're going to do something nice. We're going to start with a little treat. Now, it might not look like much, but this tiny little building used to be Britain's busiest signal box, Borough Market Junction. Now, for 80 years, this building, built in 1895 by the South Eastern Railway to a standard design, to sit on a little tower of bricks above the lines from London Bridge Station, Cannon Street Station, and Charing Cross. This huge kind of massive lines all kind of crossing over each other. In fact, at its peak of operation, this signal box used to move 1,000 trains a day in all different directions, with two signallers standing here and operating all 35 of these levers to make sure those trains went where they needed to. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth is it up here at the National Rail Museum in York? Well, in 1976, it was replaced by the new London Bridge power signal box, and thankfully, it was brought up here and preserved for us all to enjoy.
I do love a good signal box, as you can see. Now, it might be Network Rail's digital and film teams who've made this cabin for me to sit in, but there are actually other teams at Network Rail who are currently helping the National Railway Museum with the restoration of Borough Market Junction signal box itself. They're helping actually with the next stage of restoration, and that means involving the restoration and rebuilding of the brick base itself, and then taking the whole thing indoors for eventual redisplay, so we can all go in and have a look at it and enjoy it, understand it too. Now, you can visit the National Railway Museum in York. It's very close to the railway station, easy to get to by train, and it's free to enter. They've got huge displays telling thousands of stories of innovation, technology, change and adventure all across our incredible railway. Now, to find out more about the railway heritage actually that exists on today's modern railway network too, do visit networkrail.co.uk/history.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? I thought you'd enjoy. Is this a metaverse? Yeah, we're crossing boundaries. No, Network Rail very nicely. Actually, via Tim, really, Tim and Jen at the Network Rail kind of film unit, the kind of the equivalent of the old British Transport Film Unit, basically. We're doing these. Decided to do these sort of 12 doors to Christmas, and they're lovely. They're quite nice. I'm in 3 of them, and I've been in 2 of them so far. So there's one more. In fact, tomorrow's I think you can look forward to. Spoiler alert. Yes. So, hello, Jen, if you're watching. Hello, everyone who's watching it. These weren't in last week. This one wasn't in last week's Rail Natter because last week's Rail Natter was a pre-record. But it's a nice little tidbit there. So enjoy that. I've enjoyed doing it. There'll be another one. I'll feature the next one. The second one is later on in tonight's episode because they're just nice little tidbits. Go watch them. Go and like them on YouTube and watch the Twitter versions. But you can see all of them. There's some serious treats in there. My ones are fine, but there are some really interesting gems. Just go to Twitter and go hashtag 12 doors to Christmas. They're also on YouTube if that's your sauce. Nathan L, hello. Binged your stuff after catching on Well There's Your Problem podcast and now here got to fill self-isolation somehow. I can only apologise for the hundreds of hours worth of Rail Natter material there is somehow. Hello, Jen. Jen on the Move says hi. Right. From that cheery, we're now going to go less cheery because we've got to talk about the COVID stats, right? Here we are. Let me get my old Wacom out. Wacom, come here. This is the latest numbers. Let me press this button so you can see me pen. We're down here, and you can see that the provisional numbers show a big drop, and whilst the actual drop might not be that significant, you can see it's a pretty big drop. So let's dive in. Well, firstly, last year, let's remind ourselves what happened last year. So we had holiday measures being kind of desperately dragged in at late stage, and then there was an obvious drop in ridership. This year, we're obviously in a much better place. The scale's the same here. It's just flicking between 2020 and 2021. We're obviously in a better place now than we were this time last year. So this time last year we're about here. So that was around about the 60% mark, whereas last year we were less than we were at 15%. So we're clearly in a better place ridership wise, but clearly there's been a major drop, and I've added a new yellow line here because we've had this announcement for everyone to work from home if they can. Those Omicron measures coming in, the 8th of December, I think. So I've now added this to my little graphic, and you can sort of see that pretty much rapidly from there's this drop in rail ridership. That figures, it matches. The gradient, it seems. We'll see so it's dotted because it's still provisional numbers. The final data hasn't arrived yet. Be interesting to see when we do get the final stats, how that compares with the gradient of the drop off after the holiday measures. Does that match? Does that match there? Anyway, in terms of road usage, still pretty much 100%. Cycling usage less than 100%, around just over 80% at the moment of pre-COVID levels. This is, of course. Bus is sitting at around 80, although again bus has dropped off pretty drastically as well. So yeah, there we are, as you'd expect. So as we kind of all thought, if there was going to be another wave, our little 75% of pre-COVID ridership by the end of the year, well, we reached it here. So actually we did reach it, but that's tailed off again because Britain is not doing a good job of containing Omicron. So there we go. Those be the stats. And also, the ORR with some absolutely dreadful graphics. Not only is the resolution of come on, ORR, lots of love for you guys, but get better get a better graphics person in or get someone who's doing the data who gets graphics. They've copy pasted over the logo. I mean, this is also the resolution. This is horribly JPEG'd. The resolution is dreadful, which means these are really difficult. And also, the information as a result is really difficult to read. But what this is giving is an idea of which train operators, in order, kind of in descending order, which train operators are closest to pre-COVID levels. And this is referring back to quarter 2, 2021-22. Which is, what is that? That's April to so quarter 1 is April, May, June. Quarter 2 is July, August, September. That makes sense. You can see, weirdly, ScotRail is down here at its lowest kind of numbers. That I find very interesting. I didn't expect that because ScotRail's got a mixture of long distance, regional and suburban. LNER is up here at the top. doing the best at bringing everyone back, and then there's a big jump down. So that's at 90%. There's a big jump down to 70% with Merseyrail, which again is Merseyrail is very much a suburban network. So the picture isn't quite as long distance versus suburban as you might think. It seems to be quite different. East Midlands Railway 68%. So you can see there's a lot above the 60% mark here, Northern. But even London Overground. So again, you can see it's not even like it's London versus the rest as well. So London Overground, less traditionally for for inner city commuting, commuting for the traditional inner city workers. But actually, a lot of people using that to travel around the city to potentially less white collar jobs. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But those statistics are interesting. It'll be very interesting to see. Then I think the next lump are being announced in the next. Shortly in a week or two, perhaps. So it'll be good. So that's, I think, July to July. I think July to September, and then the next quarter. That's Q2, Q3. Then, and correct me if I'm wrong, is October to October, November, December. Yeah, October, December. Is that right? Anyone else correct me on that? Yes, no. Matt Reed. Yeah, no, I know. This is it as its highest resolution, I'm afraid. You're right. This is very difficult to read. What can I say? Where are we? Roz decided to compete with me directly. Gregor, in what way? I've lost the context. Yes, no. What in volume of data of content? Yeah, I know. Something went wrong with the last output for sure. Oh, I see. I've just they could output this at just output it at 1080p. That would be a start, because then it would be fill a screen. By far the best. Anyway, it's really bad quality. Right. Anyway, enough of that. The data is interesting to look at. Hence why I've annotated it verbally there to some extent. David Shepherd asked, "Do you know what the expected change between TfL rail and Crossrail passengers is supposed to be?" How do you mean the expected change, or what the jump might be? No idea. Lots of London Reconnections and other London Rail nerds might be able to answer that better. Anyway, yes. So right, the news. How are we starting off with the news? Well, we're starting the news with friend of the show, although hasn't been on the show yet, Noel Dolphin of Fura and Frey fame, and also the campaign to electrify Britain's railways, did a nice little thread summarising the GBR transition team. Sort of did a bit of a presentation as to what they're expecting to happen. Also notice this sort of logo thing here. Logo question mark. This is the transition team logo. So if you hear people referring to the TT, by the way, this is referred. Oh, why did my Wacom turn those dashes into pi? Anyway, TT refers to transition team. So you might hear people, if you're hearing people talking the lingo, you might hear transition team being referred. People saying TT, they mean transition team. And the transition team is supposedly creating GBR. It's a very good point. Someone just mentioned, Simon's just said cross country are not in a good way. Cross country are indeed not in a good way. Cross country are a franchise being left to die by government. They don't like it. They don't like the franchise. They are very uninterested in it, despite it being critical. IR plea plans will destroy. Anyway, that's something else. Anyway, so this presentation, also good grief. Let's get worried about the graphic again. Graphic designers. This appears to be Calibri with a shadow on a red, possibly just highlighted red, or at least a text box with then using the corporate identity symbol, the double arrows as a transparency, which I'm not necessarily against. Anyway, it's a bit of a mess. Come on now, do better. Anyway, so the transition team, their findings are, look at the rail alphabet too here, everyone. Their findings are, and the thing that's interesting from this is about dates. It's what their understanding of the dates for when Great British Railways will become a thing. Stupidly named GBR. April 2022 is when it will become I believe is when it will start becoming a legal entity. At the moment, all the people in the transition team have to be employed elsewhere because GBR doesn't exist and therefore cannot pay them. So that's number one. Number two, so that's April 2022, sorry, December 2022. So in a year's time, there's an expectation that the GBR bill, whatever that happens to look like will get its second reading. I think that's the second bill reading, as in that should be a lower S. Anyway, you get what's going on. So it'll be the second reading of the GBR bill. Wait, I have the power. Watch this, everyone. I have the power. There we are. Nice. Let's do that. Second reading there is going to be just at the end of next year, so in a year's time. That feels optimistic to me, but whatever. And then 2023-24, which is a 2 years worth of broad explanation, is when GBR will start taking things over. So that's currently the schedule. Let's see how that manifests itself. Some other interesting points that are being raised in this meeting that are worth paying attention to are must avoid making a bigger network rail. I mean, partly yes. I mean, actually, yeah, partly that's not something I necessarily disagree with, because it will be a different organisation with a different remit. It will be an organisation designed, it will need to run trains. It will need to think about, whereas Network Rail's job is basically to make infrastructure happen and function. So there's a yes and no, but also it will constitute a large amount of Network Rail, and Network Rail functions, contrary to what a lot of people say, Network Rail functions pretty well. So they need to not rip up Network Rail whilst avoiding making a bigger Network Rail. So I think there's a risk of a load of train people wanting to run to be in charge of tracks, which is the worst possible. That's a bad outcome as well. We don't want track people in charge of trains. We don't want train people in charge of track. We want the right people in the right places. But on the face of it, this is not necessarily a statement that I'm too angry about. This one is a bit more annoying. Projects need to be delivered quicker and cheaper. Great. No one ever doesn't say that. This is such a straw man thing. It's like, yeah, sure. Everyone wants that to happen. No one's mission. No one goes into work and says, right, I'm going to make this project as expensive and as slow as possible. No one says that. No one ever argues that. So this is always a bit. This for me is always a bit of a like a red flag. Like if you see this, people claiming this, then for me it's like, well, yeah. What do they actually mean by that? What's the actual point they're making? What's the actual thing they're saying here? So there's that. Anyway, right. Next statement is focusing on net zero modal shift. Well, great. Okay, fine. Fine. Matt Reed, you're asking about workforce. We know that workforce is being pressured hard by government, but it's kind of partly through GBR, but also partly not through GBR. Will Network Rail exist as is, absorbed? No. Theoretically, they will transfer people over from Network Rail into the new organisation, so it will be a different organisation. But that, for me, seems daft. What you want that seems like a lot of waste and risk, and actual safety risk as well. Massive organisational change has a excuse the pun, track record in hammering safety. So I think it'd be a really bad idea to just randomly change everyone into a new organisation without retaining that. Actually, it'd be better for them to shift Network Rail over as it is and absorb it into GBR as it is, and then just shift it and change it where it needs to happen. But I think to obliterate Network Rail and create a new thing is a recipe for safety disaster. And actually, as George Breerfield, who will get on the actually, he's a sort of a health and safety specialist really. He currently works for Rockrail, but he used to be kind of involved in ORR and RSSB, and George has said, what risk assessment has been undertaken by GBR to manage safety risk as a result of this massive cultural and organisational change. None is the answer at this point. So hopefully the TT will pick that up. So if anyone's in the TT looking at that, then please pay attention to that. Lots of people saying, unless you've got a government COVID contract through a ministerial mate, yeah, fair point. Don't people just whinge about an hour because they expect them to do everything on basically 5 pence? Correct. Yes, quick, good, cheap, pick two. Yeah, that's it. The projects, there's always, you've got cost, you've got time, and you've got quality. And if you like, they're a bit of a triangle. And you can only, if you adjust, say time and cost, then it means that your quality is going to go downhill. So yeah, or if you want to make it cheaper, then it means that you need to impact. If you want to make it cheaper and quicker, then sorry, I've done that. If you want to make it cheaper but retain quality, then it's going to take longer. So this is how projects work. You can't get over the fundamentals of a project. Anyway, I digress horribly. Let's talk about other news. Ah, yes, the rail betrayal. Lovely. So there's quite a lot of rail betrayal updates to the Integrated Rail Plan, which is just doing the rounds and making a right mess. Let's start with government admitting. So Baroness Veer, the Parliamentary Undersecretary for State for the Department for Transport, admitting that the government doesn't yet know how its Integrated Rail Plan will actually work on the ground. So just to be explicit here, this is a plan, not a plan. Because fundamentally a plan is how you make the thing happen. It's not what the thing should be. It's the plan is how you make the thing happen. So if you don't know how it happens, it isn't a plan. Fundamentally, IRP is not a plan. It's a government ideology being slapped across the rail industry. So there we go. So that's I love the fact that they've derided Integrated Rail Plan. This thing is not. This is a document that is just acknowledged. It's accepted by even the journalistic zeitgeist that this is a bad document that is not that does not have anything good in it. Like, it just absolutely flatly accepted, which is good. It shows that all the noise we've made has had an impact. Meanwhile, our special boy here, Grant Shapps, here he is, doing his best Mark Hamill impersonation, which is a bit weird. Here he is. Let's draw a circle around his head. Grant Shapps here, with his favourite union flags all surrounding him, is saying, well, what's he saying here? He's saying the electrification of the Midland Main Line shows we're not wasting any time. It was supposed to be finished in December 2020. It was announced in 2012, which is nearly 10 years ago. We're getting on with our £96 billion integrated rail plan. No, you're not. Yesterday, I visited Leicester, where we've started work before Christmas to slash journey times and level up the country. No, that's not what 9 miles of electrification to Market Harborough is going to achieve. What else have we got? Oh yeah, his other tweet. So that's one tweet, absolute rot. This video is just propaganda. It's just actual propaganda. Like, there's nothing true in it. Lots of errors, lots of just lies. He's just lying. He's lying to us all. Call him out on it. Another one here. He's written a column for the Yorkshire Post. Don't be deterred by the doom mongers and naysayers. The IRP is delivering right now. It isn't. And will continue to do so. It won't. Bringing better and more efficient, greener services faster. It won't do those things. So there we go. So this is just his own column within the Yorkshire Post. He's entitled to, publish his own columns within the Yorkshire Post. That's fine. He's just speaking rot. He's lying, and what's funny is he's clearly shook. Our boy is shook. It's clear that the amount of negative publicity and essentially the amount of rigor with which this plan, I'm doing rabbit ears, has been interrogated. He didn't expect it. He clearly did not expect it. And so he's a bit butthurt as a result. Rightly so. Good grief. It's 23 minutes in already. Anyway, 24 minutes. It's continuing, though, because the IRP has now resulted in extensions to the Nottingham tram system being cancelled. So, when I talk about the fact that the IRP is obliterating local transport, this is what I'm talking about. So that's as an example of a massive local transport investment being cancelled because of it. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Also, very funny piece in New Civil Engineer, which is worth reading. I shared it today. A lot of people are reading it. Rail commentators, engineers and opposition politicians have hit out at government claims that work to electrify the Midland Main Line is as a result of pledges made in the Integrated Rail Plan. Yeah, exactly. DFT slammed for insulting claim that IRP pushed through long-delayed Midland Main Line electrification. That insulting in brackets is me. It's me. I said that, and that's why they're saying insulting, because I gave him a good quote. This is just the latest. They're going to keep this. This is just going to keep happening, folks. It's just going to keep happening relentlessly.
This is only the beginning. They won't stop now.
Yep. Right, so putting the Integrated Rail Plan, rail betrayal bollocks to one side. A tit on Time. Elon Musk somehow is Time's Person of the Year. What has he done? Right, so first of all, Time Times Person of the Year does not have to be a good person. So put all those complaints to one side. They just have to be someone who's been more influential than anyone else and haven't been on it before or something on it. The trouble is, what the hell has he done? He's done nothing. What has he done? As far as I can tell, the only thing he has achieved this year is that he has pushed through an illegal oil refinery. That's about the only thing he has actually achieved. Oh, and also getting very personally rich off the back of the coronavirus pandemic. What's he actually personally? What's he achieved? What's he done? Nothing. Why is he on time? It just doesn't make any sense. It's just, I don't know. Anyway, that's quite enough of that. Look at his little apartheid face. Anyway, we're going to talk about trains on film. We're only 26 minutes in. It's fine, everyone. It's absolutely fine. Here is okay. This is being cheeky because we're not going to feature Mission Impossible because there's only got a train in it for a bit. I'm going to be talking about films that substantially have a plot that substantially revolves around a train. A train is a feature, or a railway is a character of the film. But anyway, it did give me an excuse to put in some fun pictures of Tom Cruise filming that scene in Mission Impossible, which is a fun scene, which I want to break down at some point. And I'll have a half set up video at some point where I'll break down this scene and the things of it that are fun and the things of it that are not fun and the things of it that people say are wrong that aren't. Oh, anyway, so right, let's do it. Let's crack on with the show, everyone. Thanks for sticking with me. Remember to at me if you've got questions. Welcome to tonight's Rail Natter. And as the Intercity 225 fades away, little snowflakes falling down onto our laps and our hats and our respective Christmassy things, let's put up some posters of films. Look at all these films. Oh, look at these. These are all the ones that have not made the cut, which is cheeky because I have indeed used a still from the Cassandra Crossing, as the thumbnail. But actually, Cassandra Crossing isn't making our list. Neither is the 39 Steps, which, having just said it only features a film trains tangentially and so doesn't make the cut. 39 Steps I am kind of half including because the Fourth Bridge is in it, and that means it bumps it up the rankings of counting as a train film, even though it isn't. Strangers on a Train is another one that doesn't quite make the cut for me. Also Brief Encounter, famous Brief Encounter, doesn't quite make it for me. There we go. What else? We have the Great Train Robbery is a popular one that's kind of good fun ish. I haven't watched that in a very long time. In fact, I don't know if I've watched that as an adult, as a reawakened adult. It does have a score by Jerry Goldsmith though, so it can't be too bad. Possibly. Anyway, yeah, make that judge that as you will. And then another one, which I have to say is probably a bit sus these days. Northwest Frontier. I do enjoy it, and it's. I mean, as with there are lots of versions of the 39 Steps. I put the Kenneth More one on because it has the Fourth Bridge in it. Likewise, Kenneth More is very Kenneth More in Northwest Frontier. It's a bit racially dubious now, frankly, but it does have some very nice train scenes. The train becomes a character in and of itself, and yeah, it's still good. Again, I haven't watched. I'm supposing I'd be feel fairly excruciated by watching it now. I don't know. Let's do a reassessment of that one in the future. But anyway, I do remember it being good fun, and has some good train scenes in it. So those aren't making the cut. But what films are? So let's crack on, shall we? In at number 10, starting with we're going to work our way up towards number 1. We're starting with number 10. Now let's put my miniaturized face up in the top corner, shall we? Let's do this. Hello, I'm in the top corner. Hello. Lovely. Oh, also, I'm actually going to do this as well. There we go. So you can all see me. Happy days. So, what is number 10? What are we starting with? Send in your thoughts if you're angry about my omissions or decisions. But this is a rail in our top 10. What can I say? So, number 10. We're starting with Silver Streak. Having just said, talked about, kind of racism within film. This literally does have Gene Wilder doing blackface right in front of Richard Pryor, who actually walked off the set. During that scene, he actually walked off the set until the scene was changed. It originally had a white guy walking in and being entirely fooled by. Richard Pryor's character is actually applying blackface with shoe polish onto Gene Wilder. This is a messed up scene. And originally, the director had it originally a white guy comes in and is entirely fooled by this racial caricature. And Richard Pryor was like, "This is bollocks. I'm not having this. I'm off," until you change it up to being a black guy walking in and being entirely not fooled. At least it kind of brought a bit of humour to that scene. So not ideal, but anyway, it is still good fun. It's got a great score by Henry Mancini, the famous Mancini, which is good fun. It had to be filmed. What else is funny? It had to be filmed in Canada because Amtrak were just absolutely not having any of it. They were just like, no, we don't want this to be a thing. It'll be crashy, and we don't want to show crashes. That's bad. So they weren't having any of it. So it was all like CP rail. It's all like Canada rail type stuff. Also, something that is easy to forget actually until you rewatch it. It has Jaws in it. Richard Kiel actually is in this film, and not only is he just in the film, but he has metal teeth in it as well. So Jaws is just in. He's just in the film, folks. He's just in it. They just put Jaws in it. Silver Streak. It is number 10, and I have put. Let's just change my pen color to white. Let me go pen pointer options. This is highly professional outfit here. I have actually put in the Rotten Tomatoes scores in these because it's interesting to sort of see what kind of critics think about it. So 81%, which is not bad going, is it? 1976 Silver Streak, not too bad. It's not the perfect film, but number 10 on the list because it is a bit of a romp, and it's reasonably silly and good fun, and the score is great, and I'm at peace with it. Okay, so there we go. They did indeed the clip of Gene Wilder falling off the train. I think is it Gene Wilder when he falls off the train? He falls off the train like 3 times in this film, I think. They stole a clip from Silver Streak and used it in the title sequence of the TV show The Fall Guy. Yeah, well, there we go. It's true. Thanks, David Shepard. Yes. What next? Oh yeah, it's worth pointing out. This film was based on an actual wreck that happened in 1953. There's a lovely GG3 Pennsylvania Railroad smashed into Washington DC Federal Station. No, not Federal Station. Oh, anyway, the Federal Express crashed, and it was my first Well, There's a Problem podcast appearance. So if you want to watch that, it's good fun. Go do that. Episode 21, long time ago. Good grief. Next film, number 9. Oh, I'm Scott Mills basically doing my countdown here. We've got Dave Pearce up. Dave Pearce Dance Anthems up next. Right, number 9. What's next? Well, it's Runaway Train, 1985's Runaway Train, which is it's a very different film. It's a very different tone. It's a tense film. It's pretty tense. It's really good. Like it's actually a really good film. It's got a score by Trevor Jones of Last of the Mohicans fame. Trevor Jones is interesting, actually. So Trevor Jones, the composer who put the score together for this, he's done lots of big things. Last of the Mohicans is probably arguably one of his finer scores. Really fantastic. But he did a lot of work in the UK, and he collaborated with Jim Henson, among others. And so as a result of that, Trevor Jones did the score to Labyrinth and also the score to Dark Crystal, which is fantastic. Just absolutely iconic score. And this is really good. The score to Runaway Train is really good. It helps build the tension. Other reasons why this is actually good. Gareth Williams, another film you've not heard of. The reason it's good to the reason it's very good to go and watch. This is it. This is what we're supposed to be doing. It's films that you might not have heard of for you to go and watch. So the reason this is a very good film, and it was Oscar nominated for. Actually, what was it? It was Oscar nominated for its editing and for. Was it the two male leads? The two male leads were both Oscar nominated as well. De Mornay didn't get a look in. Sorry, Rebecca. Anyway, also, is it the right train on the front of that picture? Is it? Yeah, it is. Is it, or do they actually have a softer hood on the front of the one? I can't actually remember. Anyway, the reason it's good, I'm going to get to my point eventually. The reason it's good is because it was based on a much earlier screenplay by Akira Kurosawa, who all of you should know if you know anything about film. He is like one of the 20th century's like most important filmmakers. He's probably most famous. His two most famous films are probably Seven Samurai and Star Wars: A New Hope, because he wrote he like A New Hope is just an absolute rip-off of Akira Kurosawa's one of his films about what's it called, the something fortress. I can't remember. Anyway, Kurosawa originally had co-written the screenplay for this and intended it for it to be made in 1970, but American funding reasons happened, and so he didn't make it, and it eventually kind of bounced around until it was picked up again by a Russian filmmaker actually. What was his name? I can't remember the director's name. It's probably on here, isn't it? Whose film is it? Konchalovsky. Oh yeah, Andrei Konchalovsky. His film. There we go. He's Russian. Actually, the fact that he's Russian kind of shows, because the whole thing is shot like a documentary, which kind of adds to the tension. The cinematography is not hugely, the photography work's not hugely predictable, which kind of gives it a bit of a tense edge. And it's also, as with this poster, actually, like shot with a very cold, desaturated light, which just adds to the feel of it. It's a really well constructed film. It's a bit shouty at moments, but it's pretty good. Also, originally, the 1970 version... Oh, Hidden Fortress, that's it. Yeah, Magnificent Seven came from Seven Samurai. Everyone knows that, yeah. So Magnificent Seven is basically a Kurosawa film. But also, if Kurosawa had made this in 1970, he would have cast Peter Falk as Manny, the guy in the middle, John Voight, everyone's favourite racist John Voight. He's kind of played as a bit of an intellectual character, as a bit of a kind of an intellectual con. I mean, it's a fairly stereotypical run, kind of the intellectual ex-con kind of convict versus the sort of boyish, hunky convict type thing. But John Voight would, that his character Manny would have been played by Peter Falk, as in Columbo. Now that would have been good if they'd put Peter Falk in it. That would have been awesome. Anyway, right, Runaway Train, 83% on Rotten Tomatoes, not bad. Yes. Next film. What's it? Matt Reed. They're in. Well, that's why they're numbered. So the next one's number 8. So they're in order of the top 10 in decreasing order. So we'll be ending with my number 1 classic railway film. We're working our way down. So what is number 8? Ooh. Well, it's Von Ryan's Express from 1965. Big fan of this film. It gets a solid 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty impressive. It has some fantastic train sequences. It's kind of a bit of a ripping yarn. It's got Sinatra doing his thing. That's right, actual Sinatra. Frank Sinatra. Trevor Howard is brilliant. Everyone loves Trevor Howard. In fact, you saw Trevor Howard earlier. Trevor Howard was saying, "This is only the beginning. They won't stop now." That's it. I was a dreadful Trevor Howard. But anyway, Trevor Howard playing... That was from Battle of Britain, by the way, where he's playing Mallory. No, not Mallory. Mallory's doing Big Wing. He's playing the other guy who's in charge of... 11 Group. Anyway, basically, the other RAF guy underneath Dowding, who I've forgotten the name of. So, anyway, I digress. It's rail natter. You'd expect. The ending's really poignant of this. So... Von Ryan's Express, good fun, fantastic location shooting in Italy, and then later on for the kind of the climactic sequences around the bridge, they moved to Spain because they couldn't quite find the right location, but it still works. It looks fantastic. You do notice that the rolling stock changes between those two, which I was always a bit confused. I don't know why they didn't just wheel the rolling stock from one place to the other. I don't know if the gauge changes. It'd be interesting if the gauge changed between films. I don't know if that happened. Anyone in the chat, does the gauge change between the films? railing out a chat. Go, do your magic. Yeah, what else? The film is scored by Jerry Goldsmith. Again, Jerry Goldsmith is back. Jerry Goldsmith, by the way, famous for doing the Star Trek movies, which means in turn Jerry Goldsmith is famous for the TNG theme tune. Because that theme is actually from... which film is it? It's from one of the earlier Star Trek films. I think they play it in slow motion when they're doing the classic Star Trek film beauty sequence where they just pointlessly fly around the Enterprise going, look at the Enterprise. What's Von Ryan's Express about, Matt Reed? A bunch of... It's a bit like Great Escape, but with trains. It's good fun. I'm thinking there is a track gauge change between sequences. That's a fun thing to look out for. Another thing that annoys me about this film is they make the classic 60s war film mistake of, well, I suppose it was just because there weren't any BF-109s around, but they cast BF-108s, Messerschmitt 108s instead of 109s, and they look completely different. Like they just look different. They've got they look like little kind of monoprop. They just look like little sort of runaround aircraft, which because they were. The 108s were quite fast. They were used as personnel carriers. They were not used as fighter attack aircraft like the 109s. That always annoys me. 633 Squadron did it as well. They have these buzzy little 108s. It's like, that's not what the fighter aircraft look like. Why are you doing that? Come on. Anyway, that's my only complaint. It's good fun. It's good and tense, and it's a good old war romp. 90% is not bad on Rotten Tomatoes, so clearly it's held up pretty well. Oh, next film. Right. Number 7 on our classic railway film list. How's this? Is this fun? Is this doing what you hoped it would do? Is it doing what it said on the tin, dear watchers? Anyway, right, number 7. It's The General. It is Buster Keaton's The General, which I think is an absolutely iconic piece of film. Honestly, iconic piece of film. Brilliant. Really brilliant. Oh. Let me jump back to Von Ryan's Express and talk about Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith, also famous for the Universal Pictures fanfare, which I'm trying to remember in my head now. I have an ear for tunes, but they sometimes run away. I've got so many, I've got fanfare for the common man in my head, which is not helpful for anyone. But the Universal... Boom. That's Jerry Goldsmith. Anyway, The General. Donald Brannigan is saying the music was Star Trek: The Motion Picture. That's right. The fly-around scene was the first time the USS Enterprise was seen on a cinema screen and not a small TV set, hence why they put in the ridiculous flying around it in a shuttle going, ooh. It did look great. Yeah, it's fine. They're allowed that. And it gave us that theme tune, which was then used in TNG, which is brilliant, Star Trek: The Next Generation, for those not familiar. Anyway, right, The General. What are we going to say about The General? Well, firstly, don't go in there expecting sound, because The General is a silent film. But it's brilliant. It's not only is it a well-constructed film with a really good kind of engaging plot, but it has a bit of a documentary feel to it. So in a way, given its proximity to the actual Civil War, there's an element, it used a train's worth of huge amounts of actual Civil War material, like artillery and all sorts, to just give it that kind of feel. It's kind of shot in this glorious sort of sepia, black and white sepia. It just works really well. Every frame sort of sits like. Do you remember do you remember Matthew Brady? He did these really famous. Lots of the Civil War photos that you see are from the American Civil War were taken by Matthew Brady. I don't know what where his allegiances sat, but he was kind of pretty important, famous photographer. I think. Was he trained by? He was anyway. Yeah. I don't know. I don't actually know a huge amount about Matthew Brady, other than the fact that the shot, almost shot by shot, every frame sort of sits like these Civil War photos. Really, really good. There are. You can there are several, or there are more than one scored versions of this, so there's kind of a score set to it to give you something to have in the background while you watch it. But actually, I quite enjoy it in silence. There's something quite centering about just watching a silent film and sort of having it happening in front of you. It's quite good. It cost a huge amount of money to make. I mean, if you've seen it or even seen clips from it, you'd be like, oh well, no surprises there because it's epic in scale. Also, it has incredible train sequences on it, like some very famous train crashes and just train stunts and good grief. Anyway, so yeah, it's well worth watching. It cost a huge amount of money. It actually lost money at the box, at cinemas, and essentially this robbed Buster Keaton of his independence. He had to sort of sign up with, I think, presumably with like MGM United Artists from this point onwards. Anyway, he didn't make his own films from this point onwards because of that kind of box office failure. But there we go. It's well worth watching. Good fun. What next? Number 6. We're hammering through them. We're catching up with time a little bit, which is good. Oh, number 6. Well, this is supposed to be a topical. Rail Natter is supposed to be topical as well as being like the subject matter. It's supposed to also do like discussion of what's going on, right? Anyway, number 6. Some nice lounge music. I made this gag when I did a pre-record with Dr. David Turner last night, but jazz. Talking of jazz, The Lady Vanishes is number 6, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is a decent Rotten Tomatoes score. And the version so Lady Vanishes has been made like at least 2 or 3 remade at least twice, I think possibly 3 times. There was a recent version that raised interest in it. There was a recent like possibly BBC version, was it ITV? I think it was a BBC version. But the original Hitchcock version with Margaret Lockwood and Michael Redgrave in it, I think is the best. I think it's the black and white feel. The fact that it's made at this time, it has a distinctly sort of kind of paranoid. There's a definite sense of paranoia of like the end. There's like callbacks to the past times, loss of innocence thing, which is interesting happening. Given that was sort of a lot of that stuff happened during the First World War. There's definitely feelings of transition and as a result of that, also the tension that was going on in mainland Europe during the sort of the late 30s. That tension, it captures that. It captures it because they couldn't avoid that vibe, frankly, because that was what the vibe in Europe was. It was it's released in 1938, so it gives you a feel. So it's got that general kind of paranoid feel that you'd associate with late 1930s Europe. But it's very good. It's very tense. It's played very well. It's arguably Hitchcock at his finest. Hitchcock. I'm a massive fan of Vertigo. I think this and Vertigo are amongst Hitchcock's finest work. Really, really good. It was like an absolute box office smash. It did really well. It was like the most popular British film like for ages. Just really good. It is really good, and the train is a key feature of it, of course. This is fun though. This weird like slightly SS logo of GB, a GB production. Is that a bit like this film was made using with help from the UK government type situation, or is that was the brand of GB Studios or something? I don't know. Yes. So, what was I going to say? Oh, lots of people talking about Buster Keaton. Yeah. Any thoughts on that GB logo, chat? Bye, Simon. Cheerio. You have to catch up with the rest later. Yeah, sure. Matt Reed, no, I'm not going to do a quick blurb on the plot of each film because it'll give it away. Go and watch them. Go and watch them. I'm not going to give you a plot. If you want to read the plot, you can do that on Wikipedia. But no, I'm not going to give the plot for all of them because I think you should go and watch them. They're good. If they're on this list, trust me that they are engaging. Right, next film. Number 5. Oh, it's our last 5. Ooh. What's it going to be, though, folks? What is it going to be? Oh, that's a nice bit of piano work there, isn't it? It's another tense one. It's a very, very, very good, very tense, very entertaining film. The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Now, that poster looks very scary. It's not quite as scary, in sort of violent scary as that poster makes out, but it is very, very tense. Again, scoring. Scoring is fantastic. David Shepard, that's the GB Rail logo. Lol, yeah. That GB logo looks more like if Warner's had been more fashy. Yeah, it does a bit, doesn't it? Anyway, right, let's digress. I'm getting lost already. Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, the original 1974 version. Vigorously liked by Rotten Tomatoes, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. This film is brilliant. I was talking about scoring, wasn't I? So David Shire did the score. David Shire, I didn't really know him from anything. To be honest, I didn't know his name. I had to look it up when I went to to actually make these notes. Like, I've actually there's some notes I did some reading up to remind myself of names and facts for some of these. David Shire's score is actually very good. It's very, very interesting score. It's quite novel actually, but it really builds the tension. And Robert Shaw, who plays the sort of actually both Walter Matthau and Robert Shaw are brilliant. So Matthau plays the sort of cop who's sort of trying to fix the problem. He's I think he's basically in the British Transport Police, but in New York. And Robert Shaw plays this sort of intellectual baddie who's well, I'm not going to say what he's doing, but anyway, he's brilliant. That's right, it's Red Grant, everyone. He in fact, so this was filmed. They filmed a lot of it using the kind of the line next to what is now the New York Transit Museum. I think it was the New York Transit Museum then, actually, and there's a platform next to it that they used. And the filmmakers kind of set up loads of sort of chessboards and kind of recreational stuff to keep the extras entertained, because there's quite a few extras to keep them all entertained during kind of breaks in filming, and giving like seriously strong Red Grant vibes. Robert Shaw basically just beasted absolutely everyone at table tennis. Like, he was completely undefeated at table tennis. That's the idea of him just like absolutely obliterating every single one of the extras and film crew at table tennis during the making of this film. I just love that vibe. I think one of the other things I like a lot is that it just shows an absolutely knackered looking New York City. Like, I've been working my way through the Bond films recently. By the way, if you're going to watch the Bond films, do so with then listening to the appropriate Kill James Bond podcast episode afterwards, because it makes the whole thing that much more appealing. Live and Let Die, which is an awful film, horrendously dreadful film, it does feature some nice shots of knackered looking Harlem, specifically knackered looking New York City, and I kind of love that look. It's a reminder of how knackered, one of the West's great, or the Northern Hemisphere's great cities just looked absolutely wrecked through the 1970s. And kind of despite this, the Metropolitan Transit Authority were like, we don't want any graffiti in this film. So weirdly, the mayor had just made fighting graffiti a thing, that it was just going to happen, which, to be fair, you can relate to. I can imagine the London mayor coming out with the same sort of thing. And this film has the most shiny train in it. Like, all the other trains at the time were covered in, graffiti. The train in question does not. They have that nice sort of silver look to them, don't they? The MTA trains, which is really nice. Anyway, I digress somewhat. But I thought that's funny. And also the other thing that's funny is the Metropolitan Transit Authority. They still, to this day, generally avoid scheduling, or like if they can, totally avoid scheduling trains at either 1:23 or 13:23 from departing Pelham Bay Park station as a result of this film, just to avoid kind of just for hashtag reasons, which I think is quite funny. Gesundheit. Right, next one, number 4. We're really on the countdown now. We have not got many films left, folks. Oh, not many films left at all. Next film is...
Do you realise you're condemning our village to death? Open it up to buses and lorries, and what's it going to be like in 5 years' time? Our lanes will be concrete roads. Our houses will have numbers instead of names. There'll be traffic lights and zebra crossings, and that'll be twice as dangerous.
Of course it's the Titfield Thunderball, everyone. Of course it's the Titfield Thunderball. It is the brilliant Titfield Thunderball. Wonderful film. Weirdly, though, totally unrated on Rotten Tomatoes. Clearly it's one that's passed the Rotten Tomatoes critics by, which I do find quite funny. It's brilliant. It's just charming, ridiculous. It's just... Basically, Tim Dunn's life is like Titfield Thunderball. He rides trains off the tracks and down roads. That's just what Tim Dunn's life is like, if anyone's wondering. It's just brilliant, isn't it? Absolutely wonderful. Just strongly love this film and its vibes. And as you see from that little clip, kind of prescient in a few ways. But there's not much more to say about it, really. It's charmingly scored, wonderful locations. It's got all the best. It's got all the fun folks in it. It's my engine. It's just brilliant. It's just a brilliant film. So it comes in at a strong number 4. 7.1 on IMDb, but what do they know? They know nothing. IMDb know nothing. Anyway, yes, vigorously, strongly recommend you to watch Tipfield Thunderbolt if you have not already. But I'm reckoning everyone here probably has. It does involve a road-going GWR 14XX. It's very entertaining, yes. So here we go. The last 3, folks. The last 3. I'm excited by these two. Okay, so what's the next one? What do you think it's going to be? What are the guesses? I don't know how delayed the chat is. I think there's quite a long delay on the chat this time for some reason. What do you think? Yeah, that was like 15 seconds from change up the top. We're getting there. It's not going to be super late. Don't worry, everyone. We're going to be finishing fairly sharpish. 3 last films. What can we do? What can we do? Yeah, IMDb is indeed Amazon. Yes. Sadly, Amazon did buy up IMDb and merge it with Prime. Oh, some interesting suggestions here. Some very interesting suggestions. Okay. Right. Let's see where we're going with it then, shall we? Number 3. What's it going to be?
A salute on the bridge.
Look, I make a proposition to you. I'll take care of him. If you take care of her. That's a straight 50-50 split, huh?
No. I would rather it was the other way about. Let me have 1 round. You take care of Mrs. W.
Wait.
Nice wind cutters there.
Guess who's next?
Oh, lovely cream and Caroline as well.
Wait a minute, 1 round. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Look, we can make a deal. You'll never get away by yourself. I'll help you. Do him. He's the one who got you into this. Do him.
I heard you. Both of you. I've been standing here all the time. Sure, you two were going to put me on the train. And all the time you've been telling me how stupid I am. Okay? So who looks stupid now, eh?
The safety catch was on.
Oh, I love it so much. It's so good. It's so good. No, it was done in color. It was the Lady Killers was done in color. It was a Technicolor film. It's one of the, if not the great Ealing Studios Ealing comedy. It's so dark. That moment when Herbert Lom stands up and is cleaning his knife, closing his flick knife. It's not a flick knife, is it? It's a, you know what I mean? It's a slidey, shiny shaving knife thing. Flips it and pops it back in his pocket. It's so sinister. It's such a dark film, and yet it's so funny. It's farcically funny. Alec Guinness plays the whole thing so straight, and yet just you see him, just his little mannerisms. It's just now immediately you're going, that's a train movie. Absolutely, it is. Yes, you'll notice I didn't say train films. I said railway films, and arguably the main character in this film is not Mrs. Lopsided. It is in fact the land around, and here it is. Here's where the film was shot. So they actually built the cottage at the end here of Frederica Street at the time, which existed at the time. It don't exist anymore. Totally taken over with new development, kind of new council houses were built there. But it used to be a large coal depot. So those lines, when you watch the film, the lines that are above the kind of the top of Copenhagen Tunnel, those lines existed. They were coal lines. You can see there's a little sort of shunt neck that was used to kind of bring the coal trains in. And you can see, so for me, the main character in this is kind of the main character is this whole area, because the whole film is shot in and around Goods Way, and so where the truck, there's that truck that reverses back and gets in the way and blocks it kind of reverses backwards and blocks the road, and it's all part of the shenanigans. That happens on Battle Bridge Road. All of the film takes place in all of this, totally lost. Like, it's gone, all of it's gone. Very little of the locations are familiar to anyone anymore. But this whole area is just is a main character in the film. It's just, yeah, it's just fantastic. I love it. I absolutely adore it. And the film is brilliant, but very much that railway territory, the land around there is a main character in the film, I think. So for me, it absolutely qualifies as a railway film. And indeed, Ladykillers 1955 does get 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's just, yeah, I think Ladykillers is fantastic. Some other people are suggesting other films, but you're suggesting non-fiction things. So Snowdrift at Blethgill. Is it Bleemore? No, it isn't Bleemore. It is Bleefgill. No, it's not. That's a documentary. These are fiction. These are blockbusters, movies. Yes. Technicolor process makes Kodachrome seem environmentally friendly. Oh golly, I can imagine. Oh, what else we got? All these old films deserve to be rescanned. Some of them have been remastered, actually. I think the Ealing Studios ones have been remastered, actually. Yeah. So, where are we? Let's see. Cutthroat Razor, that'll be the one. Thanks, Matteo. Yes. What else? Any other comments and thoughts on here? Yes, Gareth Williams. I'm amazed that you haven't heard any. Are you like full blast 8 for 8 so far? Having not heard of any of these, it's quite impressive. If so, that's all of these films. Let's move ourselves on to number 2, the second last in our list. Oh, that clip's wonderful, by the way. But anyway, what is the number 2? What might it be? What might it be?
Look at that tree over there! Lord, it's moving. So are the others. It's magic. What is it? What is it? It's much too magic for me. I don't like it. I'm going home.
Cool. That'll take some sweeping up.
Yes, what a line. Of course it's the Railway Children. Of course. Absolutely stunning film. Glorious, completely glorious. Got the lovely Jenny Agutter in it, of course. It's just exquisite, absolutely exquisite. Wonderful, wonderful thing. Bernard Cribbins is a delight in it. Actually quite a really nicely nuanced performance. It's from 1970. Good grief, it's giving off 70s vibes in that poster. But 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, as you'd expect. And it features a blinking, earthworks failure. I can't fault it for that. It's brilliant. And it's got all sorts. And again, the railway itself is very much a character. It's brilliant. Honestly, joyous film. I can't remember there being anything particularly problematic in it. I seem to remember it being a pretty reasonable representation of this perception of the middle classes of what Northern life was like, and it's filmed on location at the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway. It's just it's glorious. Just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Lots of love for that film, lots of love, and indeed some of you had suggested it already in here. So Indeed. Matteo, same vintage as yours truly. Oh, really? Interesting. Network Rail about to have a headache. That's what it is. Yeah, correct. Michael Ward, correct. I think it was filmed in the Keith Linworth Valley, yeah. Still has you welling up, Chubby, yeah. It's, just glorious. Right, so, which then? What is our last film going to be? What else could there possibly be? Oh. Richard Smith, can't fault an Earthworks failure, can you? Thanks, Richard. Oh. Number one. They always do a bit of a brew down. They do like a countdown, don't they? So what we've had a few... We've had a few crackers in there. We've had some really old films. We had a few British films. We had a few American films. Primarily British films, actually, I realise, but we just do better railway films, don't we? Now, what is the last film? What could it be, folks? What could it be? Well, let's have a look, shall we?
Spitfire.
Go on, Bert. Here he is. Ooh, lovely square tip stuff right there. Squeaking coming. Oh, the tension of that scene. Crikey. Oh, so, it's The Train. 1964 is The Train. The epic, absolutely epic Frankenheimer war classic, The Train, from 1964. About the French Resistance. It's absolutely spectacular. It is... So that sequence, actually it was added in later because they decided they needed one more action sequence, which is Doolally. The whole thing is action from start to finish. But the reason they're all looking stressed out is because it's the tension of discussing what they're saying should be their last job. And it's just, it's stunning. Lots of very long, I think everyone's feeling the tension in that. Lots of long, very, very long sort of long shots. Lots of people doing so there's loads of fantastic shots of, for example, Burt Lancaster working on some parts for the train, repairs to the train, putting the train back together, and he's there pouring metal, shaping parts, carrying. He's a bodybuilder, so and worked at a circuit. He's there carrying parts across to reattach to this locomotive. There are just so many long shots. There's a sequence in which the film sets up a marshalling yard to be bombed, an Allied bombing raid, and it was actually a marshalling yard that SNCF were wanting to demolish and reconstruct in the 60s, and so they just blew it up with actual heavy explosive. None of this stupid pyrotechnic pop stuff that has absolutely no explosive capability but sends a load of flame into the air unrealistically. No, actual heavy explosive. Thousands and thousands of sort of kind of pounds worth of heavy explosive blowing up, and you can see the shockwaves traveling through the ground at these explosions. It's just incredible. Just honestly a fantastic film. If you can get it on Blu-ray, I'd recommend it. As with any of these, if you can get them in HD, DVD's rubbish. The quality of DVD is rubbish. If you can get them in Blu-ray or digitally, rent them. Actually, that's just on YouTube for hire. If you don't mind doing it that way, it's just it's just exquisite. There are derailments for reasons, and it's just brilliant. And again, it's not just about. It's called The Train. You'll understand why if you watch the film, but the whole railway, the whole way that a railway works is featured, and it features decay. It features it's kind of a very good anti-war film. It shows the contempt of ideology, but through a proxy. It's just very cleverly done, very, very cleverly done. It's one of my favorite films, let alone my favorite railway film. Just stunning. Paul Scofield is exquisite in it as an unhinged sort of senior officer. It's just very, very good. Very, very good. Oh, and there we go. Those are the films. What did you think? Those are the 10, my top 10. So, Silver Streak, Runaway Train, Von Ryan's Express, The General, The Lady Vanishes, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, The Titfield Thunderbolt, The Lady Killers, The Railway Children, and The Train. Only three of them, only three of them don't start with the. I'll take from that what you will. How many have you heard of? How many of you... Gareth Williams is saying, heard of one, watched zero. Well, there's your Christmas sorted, Gareth. Lovely job. These are the films. They are my top 10. Vigorous recommend. I love them all to varying degrees, but particularly those sort of last four are, the Titfield Thunderbolt, The Lady Killers, The Railway Children, and The Train are my all-time absolute favourites. They are brilliant. They are really, really, really brilliant. Yes. Go and watch. I hope that was fun. I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. It was good fun. Any thoughts, questions, theories? Anything else to add? I haven't got any Christmas food around me. I managed to lock my spine up. Oh, there we are. Crunch. Heard of 6, watched 4. Simon Wadsworth. So many of these films I've seen part of by watching them on TV half an hour after they started. Heard of about 8 out of 10. What would Tim think of me not putting Titfield first? Oh, I'm sure he wouldn't mind. Daniel Cantwell's going to be watching The Lady Killers again. Yeah, watch that one. Don't watch the Tom Hanks remake. It's dreadful. Just ignore that. Pretend it wasn't made. Heard of 6, watched 3 in full and bits of 1. Oh, crikey. Oh, I'm pleased. Mission Impossible isn't in this because it's not the whole film's not about the railway or a train, but it does have a very, very fun... it does have some very fun, if silly, sequences in it. Yes, and lots of errors. Gareth Williams has got 3 series of Mr. Tim Dunn lined up for next week. Well, that'll do you as well. David Shepherd's watched at least half of these. Well, I'm very pleased. There are a few of these I need to rewatch, actually, that I haven't watched in a few years. There we go. Right, we're 12 minutes behind schedule, 13 minutes behind schedule. Let's go back to the traditional format, shall we? So, that was pushing the format. That was all sorts of bells and whistles going on there. We had clips, we had hold music. Oh, crikey. Pushing the already very sketchy format to its absolute limits. Anyway, I don't know how that held. It probably wasn't too bad in audio-only format, actually, that one. You had bits of films, you had lounge music. Oh, lovely. So, podcast. This goes out as a sort of podcast as well, although it's a bit weird if you do that. Definitely watch it on YouTube because, come on, that's where all the details. But for those of you who don't, who like it in audio-only format, hi, John. Hopefully this has been a fun one for you. And thanks for listening. Spotify, for a lot of you have been saying that this is your most listened to podcast on Spotify, which is bonkers. I don't know how that works. Oh, I do know how it works. It's because I've worked out how to game the system, which is by creating hours and hours of content, even though it's just one a week. That's how to do it. Nailed it. The ads. Patreon.com/Gareth Dennis for supporting me to make more of this stuff, and also go to the Patreon is where, as a Patreon person, you have the right of decision over future episodes. So you get to suggest guests, you get to suggest themes, all that sort of good stuff. You also get a discount on the merchandise, aforementioned merchandise, which you can get from Masquette. Just search Masquette Rail Natter, I'm sure it'll appear. Masquette, Masquette. PayPal.me/Gareth Dennis to throw comments and pennies at me, which is always much appreciated if you don't fancy a long-term commitment through Patreon. Or if there's like a particular article you've read that you thought was quite good, then do that. There's more treats, but hang on for a minute, because there's some treats after this, by the way. GarethDennis.co.uk/Discord for the continued chat, to keep up to date with the chat and generally have the fun that is going on in the chat right now, which I'm going to miss over Christmas. I might see if I can drop in, but chances are not, because I'm going to be away. So, what's that about a current Clydesdale £5 note, banknote? I don't know what the discussion is about, but you mean one of these? There. It's got the Forth Bridge on it, so I'm a big fan. There's the focus. There. Clydesdale Bank. I have it just on here. It goes up here. That's my special £5 because it's got the Forth Bridge in it. I'm not spending that. Anyway, let's go back to this. Yes, Discord. Lovely. Oh, yes, treats. So, I mean, this was a little while ago now, a week or two ago. No, it was last week, wasn't it? Third episode of Well, There's Your Problem podcast. I have appeared. And we're talking about the line. We're talking about the Chicago to New York Electric Airline Railroad, which is good fun. It's very fun and very silly. We had a lot of... I laughed a lot on during that episode. I laughed an awful lot. Apparently there's an HST on this. Oh, there is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there is. Oh, I haven't plugged in my spare camera. Wait a minute. People are discussing Clydesdale Bank notes and... no, that side. That. Focus. It's not going to focus, folks. Wait, if I put it right there. There it is. There's the HST. There you go. Oh, back out of focus again. Oh, there you go. Who'd have thought my random shelf of junk would have come in useful? Anyway. Yes, Well, There's Your Problem podcast. Go watch. It was a lot of fun. I lost the plot at least once, if not several times. And it's also episode 91, into 225 fades away, episode 91. That wasn't planned, but, it's fun how these things work. So, yeah, go and watch that episode on the CNYEAL. Ridiculous Railway. Oh, so, that. What's next? Now, I've come somewhere very, very special indeed. This is the Network Rail Archive. Vicky's joined me. Vicky is one of the records assistants here at the archive. Vicky spread out some treasures for us to have a look at. So what's this first drawing that we've got here?
The first one is Cardiff Central Station. These are alterations that were made from 1933.
Now the detail, the architectural detail there is fantastic. This next drawing looks a bit more familiar. This is clearly the Forth Bridge, but what's special about this particular drawing?
The beautiful one about this is it shows you how the construction process took place. So the areas in the red were constructed first, then blue, and then the rest.
Ah, marvellous. So you've got the construction progress there. Now this last treasure looks incredible. What's this? What are we looking at here?
This is George Stephenson's survey of Stockton and Darlington Railway from 1822.
Amazing, and you can see his signature here. It's just wonderful. Now, it's not just the historical merit of these artefacts. As an engineer, my day job is to upgrade the existing infrastructure, and for that I need to understand how it was built, how it was maintained, what it looked like when it was put together, in order to upgrade the railways for the future.
Original drawings of Britain's most famous railway structures and the earliest plans for modern rail travel by George Stephenson himself are just some of the millions of historic and legal documents held by Network Rail's amazing archive that are crucial to the running of today's modern railway. Now, you might think that the work of an archive has little or no relevance to you and me, but actually, as Network Rail, this is a fun fact, Network Rail is one of the biggest landowners in Britain, so it gets dozens and dozens of deeds requests every day from solicitors and developers. So the archive actually is in constant use to prove the boundaries of its land and the rights of access. So basically every day, Network Rail, and therefore you and me, the taxpayer, are being saved significant amounts of money and time. And as Gareth mentioned as well, all the original plans for rail infrastructure can help Network Rail carry out massive improvements and repairs while preserving historically important structures. Now, all of this enables Network Rail to continue to maintain, improve and develop the railway for passengers today and in the future as well. So you can find more out about how Network Rail looks after our historic railway by visiting networkrail.co.uk/history.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Thanks, Network Rail. Yeah, that's a nice little tidbit. So yeah, 12 days to Christmas. Hashtag 12 days to Christmas. Hashtag 12 doors to Christmas. To enjoy those. There's 12 of them, and they're all lovely. Simon Wadsworth, Forth Bridge. Everyone's talking about the Forth Bridge. There is a Forth Bridge episode of Rail Natter, which on two things to note. Firstly, on the Forth Bridge, I next year should be visiting the Forth Bridge for a future Rail Natter episode. So there's an interesting little tidbit for you. But also, the reason I just played, well, partly the reason is because this is a nice little episode, but also the archive. We're also going to do an episode of Rail Natter from the archive because it's just an absolute feast. An absolute feast. It'd be good to explore, have a chat with the archivists and the kind of the people looking after the arbiters of that asset. It's just it's very interesting indeed. So that. Now, what else? What other treats have I got in here? Yes. So, what have we got in store for you this holiday season? Well, next week's episode is going to be episode 94. We're going to be looking at 10 of the world's most edible-looking railway stations. We've got the lovely Emily Turner joining us, and we're talking. We both get fairly drunk, and we talk about edible railway stations. So you've got that to look forward to. That should be fun. That's a pre-record, but it'll be live-ish, as in the chat, and you can all chat and join with friends, and we might all be there if we're super locked down. Episode 95, the week after, also pre-record. Dr. David Turner is joining us. And although I've titled this Edwardian style, actually, it's also Victorian. We're talking about the Victorians as well, so I kind of slightly dishonestly titled this one. In hindsight, I probably should have kind of corrected, but anyway, it's fine. So, episode 95, Xmas Holidays by Rail, Edwardian style, with Dr. David Turner, friend of the show. Dr. DT is joining us, and he will be we'll be talking about all sorts. We cover all sorts. It's just we basically take a load of stuff that David has researched and it's interesting, related to Christmas. We spread it all out on a table and we chat all about it. And it's good fun. Having also recorded that one last night, except that obviously that'll be in the new year. That'll be the first 2022 Rail Natter. And then the first live, we'll be back live. I'll be here chatting to you all with Rebecca Wilkes. And we'll be talking about, it'll be episode 96. And weirdly, the same as last year, we'll be starting off with a Welsh episode. So we'll be saying, what is wrong with the Rhondda line? What is wrong with the Rhondda line? Well, we're going to be talking just about that in episode 96, which will be the first live episode in the new year. Episode 96, crikey. It feels like episode 69 Nice was only recently, and now we're at 96. We're nearly at the 100th episode. Crikey. Whew. So much to keep on top of. So, as a bit of an update, it's nothing formalised yet. As a bit of an update for the live, well, not live, the in-person episode. It's looking... the York one that 21 of you have already got tickets for. It's looking increasingly likely that isn't going to happen now, which is obviously pretty gutting. Would have been a lot of fun. That is looking less likely to be happening. It's looking more likely not to happen than to happen at this stage. I'll make a decision before the end of this year so that you haven't got too long to make arrangements for those of you who book tickets and things to kind of try and get refunds on that. It's not set yet, but I will put a formal announcement out. I'll email everyone who's bought tickets as well. You'll get your refunds. We'll this is the state of things. We'll see. There might be a change, but actually at the moment it's not looking healthy. It looks like there'll be a lockdown after Christmas. There'll be a lockdown for probably a month or so. So, let's see. But so that's a shame. But there will be an episode where we all meet and it'll be fun. And maybe it's an opportunity to, given that many more people are coming, maybe it's an opportunity for me to plan a bit ahead and get a larger venue. So we'll see. It gives an opportunity to do something bigger and better if it doesn't happen. I'll be really sad. Also, I'll need to, for that episode, we'll work out a way to, we'll maybe do a quiz, because we'll look at a way to raise money for York LGBT Forum, because I still want to raise cash for them. We'll do it again with the live one, with the pre-record, but I do want to raise cash for them. So we'll work that out. Anyway, it only really remains for me to say, have a fantastic... Thanks to all of you for a year of sticking with me through my various rantings. It's a bit weird to, the single person doing a podcast format is, guest episodes I think are better. They work better. But I do have fun with you in the chat on here. Hello to everyone in the chat. I do have fun with you all guiding me. And somehow the numbers keep increasing. You seem to be enjoying it. And it's a bit of a labor of love, Rail Natter. So, 2021 was the first full year we've had, and it's been great. It's been good. It's been good fun. It's been a difficult year in lots of ways, but it's also been, there've been lots of interesting things we've explored. Next year is going to be bigger and better in terms of what we can get into the guests we can get. As Rail Natter gets bigger, guests are more interested in coming and appearing. So it should be a fun year for Rail Natter folks, and particularly if we start doing some sort of in-person shows, that'll be even more fun. So all that remains is for me to say sort of Yuletide greetings. Have a wonderful Christmas break, and I will see you, and Hogmanay for those who are celebrating. Hopefully we can, people can, hopefully we have a chance to at least be outside and sort of tip a hat to our friends and family. We'll see. But without further waffling from me, you've been a wonderful audience, and I will see you see you next week. But that's a past version of me that'll see you next week. Future me will see you in the new year. I'm gonna raise a mug to you all. I'm not sure whether this mug is or indeed is not a Gadget Ban. The only way you can find out is by buying it from Masket. And all I can say is, Happy Christmas, everyone. Cheerio.